In this video, we've compiled Pawn Stars moments when they miss the biggest opportunities. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. OJ Broncos.
The OJ Bronco.
I've never seen anything quite like this.
Rick and Chumley went to see the OJ Bronco and wanted to buy it for their pawn shop. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it. The Bronco was the one famously involved in O.J. Simpson's car chase, and it had become an iconic piece of history. The duo learned that O.J. and his friend had identical Broncos, but this was the one everyone recognized from television. It was the car seen during the infamous car chase. However, the Bronco had been destroyed since then. O.J. now lived in Nevada, and the seller of the Bronco had turned down a $500,000 offer.
I've been offered $500,000 for the Bronco. I turned it down. I would like to be able to sell the Bronco and then take that money and give it to my children.
They discussed the significance of the vehicle and its connection to major historical events like the Challenger crash and 9/11. The Bronco was a symbol of a specific moment in time. Chumley and Rick took it for a test drive and were amazed by its condition. However, they acknowledged that determining its value was challenging due to its unique status.
I know someone would pay a ridiculous amount of money for it, but then again, value is going to be really tough.
The negotiation reached a stalemate as the seller initially asked for $1.3 million, but Rick and Chumley offered significantly less. The seller insisted he would never sell the Bronco for less than $1 million, as he believed it was worth that or more. In the end, the duo decided to pass on the purchase due to the uncertainty surrounding its value.
I'm going to pass on it. With something like this, it's so much of a gamble because there's nothing to compare it to its price.
I'll never sell the Bronco for under $1 million. I know it's worth that, and if it's not, it will be.
Number 2. George Washington's suit.
Well, here we are, Rick. I brought you here to see something very, very exciting for my collection. It's one of the most amazing things I could ever imagine owning.
Rick was in the D.C. area, meeting up with one of his high-end clients. They visited Mount Vernon, the home of George Washington, expecting to be amazed. They arrived at their destination, and Rick's client revealed a remarkable item for his collection, an authentic silver lionhead hunting sword that belonged to George Washington. Rick was awestruck and had the opportunity to hold the sword, feeling the excitement and historical significance. However, his client informed him that the sword was not for sale.
That's pretty cool. It just sends shivers through your body when you hold it.
Rick's client said he had something else in mind that he was willing to sell. They proceeded to unveil a 3-piece suit acquired by George Washington in the 18th century. Rick was amazed at its preservation and expressed his admiration for the first president of the United States. The suit had been passed down through generations and eventually ended up in an auction in New York City where Rick's client acquired it.
It's a 3-piece suit that he acquired sometime in the mid-18th century. It's amazing that it held up so well.
While Rick was fascinated by the suit, his client revealed a price tag of $3 million. Rick contemplated the offer, considering the historical value of the suit. After a conversation with his client, Rick negotiated the price down to $2.5 million, but ultimately declined the offer.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of suit.
I don't think I'd ever say this, but I'm actually considering this.
The suit was a major part of his client's collection and not something he was willing to part with easily. Despite missing out on the suit, Rick reflected on his incredible day, having held George Washington's sword, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. He returned to his hotel room and decided to make a final offer of $2 million, but the client remained firm at $2.5 million. Rick ultimately accepted that the suit was not meant to be his.
1.5?
I appreciate your offer, but it's really a major part of my collection.
How about $2 million?
Since we're friends, the best price, absolute best price would be $2.5 million.
Number 3. Robosaurus.
This is Robosaurus. It's our 31-ton, 45-foot, basically a transformer that eats cars, eats airplanes.
Corey and Chumley saw an item called Robosaurus that they wanted to buy for their shop. The seller had invited them from the pawn shop to evaluate the item as he wanted to sell it and raise venture capital for another business idea. Chumley questioned if Robosaurus was appropriate for their pawn shop, considering the potential damage it could cause. The owner explained that it was a money-making machine that could be rented out for special events, such as bar mitzvahs and demolition derbies, generating $25,000 per day. Intrigued by the earning potential, Chumley decided to learn more about the machine.
In the wrong hands, I bet this thing could cause a lot of damage. I mean, these guys must have one hell of an insurance policy.
They discovered that Robosaurus had 24,000 pounds of crushing power and various features like air cannons, confetti, fireworks, and even the ability to launch missiles. The machine was powered by a 500 horsepower turbocharged diesel engine and propane tanks. Although Chumley initially hesitated due to potential risks and his father's disapproval, the prospect of making $25,000 per day caught his attention.
25,000 bucks is a day you can make from this thing when you put it on the road. We got 24,000 pounds of crushing power in these claws.
As they prepared to test Robosaurus, Chumley and Corey realized its immense power. The machine effortlessly lifted cars and ripped them apart. Impressed by its capabilities, Chumley was ready to make an offer. However, when the owner mentioned a price of $1 million, Chumley hesitated, considering it far beyond their budget.
That's crazy.
Due to the high price, they decided not to make the purchase, as it could potentially bankrupt their shop. They appreciated their time with the owner and acknowledged that Robosaurus was an incredible item, but the $1 million price tag was out of reach. Disappointed, the owner had expected a counteroffer, but understood that the price was too high for them.
I mean, the Robosaurus is awesome, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that would love to buy it. It's just way too much money to risk. It was very cool, guys, but I have to admit, $1 million is a little out of my budget.
Number 4. Beatles contract.
I actually got one of the most important documents in rock and roll history. The contract between Brian Epstein, who was the manager, and the Beatles, creating the partnership between the two of them.
That's a big wow factor right there.
A customer came to the pawn shop to pawn the original document of a contract between Brian Epstein, the manager, and the Beatles. The contract was a significant piece of rock and roll history. It required the signatures of two of the Beatles' parents, James McCartney and Harold Harrison, as they were under 21 at the time. The contract appointed Epstein as their manager for a 5-year period, outlining his cut from various ventures involving the Beatles.
And the agreement basically states what Brian Epstein's cut would be, including vaudeville, concerts, movies.
Rick realized the contract would only be valid once Epstein secured a record deal for the brand. Epstein's role in transforming the Beatles from an unknown band to the biggest rock band ever was acknowledged. However, after Epstein's death, the Beatles struggled, eventually leading to their breakup. Holding the original contract in his hands felt surreal to Rick.
Brian Epstein was a genius. He basically transformed the Beatles from an unknown band playing small clubs into the biggest rock band ever.
The customer asked for $1 million for the contract, but Rick needed to verify its authenticity before discussing the price further. He called an expert to examine the contract's signatures. The expert confirmed that the signatures were genuine, belonging to the Beatles themselves. Rick understood the value and rarity of the contract, as Beatles memorabilia was highly sought after. The expert appraised the contract at around $500,000, which fell short of the customer's asking price.
I'd put the value of this piece right at around $500,000.
You're still stuck at $1 million?
I really got to get $1 million.
Rick offered $350,000, but the customer insisted on $1 million. Rick explained that he would have to sell it through an auction, incurring additional charges. However, the customer declined the offer, believing they could get $1 million reserve at a major auction house. Disappointed, Rick couldn't make a deal with the customer and acknowledged that he needed to find the right buyer. He understood the risk involved in waiting for another auction, but decided to decline the $350,000 offer. Despite his desire to sell the contract that day, Rick knew he had to find the perfect buyer, and the customer before him wasn't the one.
I'm going to have to decline on the $350,000.
Good luck with it.
I'm disappointed I couldn't make a deal. I really wanted to sell it today, but I really had to find the right buyer.
Number 5. Pokemon cards.
I have probably the world's #1 Pokemon collection inside this case, and they're all Charizards, which is the #1 Pokemon guy.
A customer entered the pawn shop with a collection of Pokemon cards to pawn. Rick dealt with him but missed out on a significant opportunity. The customer proudly displayed his case filled with Pokemon figures and cards, specifically pointing out the Charizard cards as the top Pokemon in his collection. Rick, seemingly unfamiliar with Pokemon, referred to them as Pokeman cards, much to the customer's correction. The customer explained that he had been collecting Pokemon cards for the past 17 years, even after his sons had grown up and left for college. He described the popular Pokemon card game where players battle using their decks of 60 cards, with the goal of defeating their opponents by eliminating all of their Pokemon.
Each player has a deck of 60 cards, and you battle with your Pokemon by pulling cards out of your deck and getting enough energy points so that you can attack your other player.
Despite Rick's lack of understanding regarding the Pokemon phenomenon, he acknowledged that certain Pokemon cards could fetch a considerable sum of money. Rick inquired about the value of the most expensive card in the customer's collection. The customer revealed that the Charizard card held the highest value, estimated between $50,000 to $100,000. Rick was astounded by the price people were willing to pay for such cards, considering the collectible nature of Pokemon. The customer expressed his desire to sell his collection for around $500,000. Rick, unsure about the true value, sought the opinion of an expert.
I'm looking for right in the area of $500,000.
Do you mind if I have someone look at this?
That's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to think right now.
The expert explained that Pokemon cards gained immense popularity in Japan between 2000 and 2002, making first edition cards from that era extremely rare. Recognizing the uniqueness of the collection, he estimated its worth to be around $380,000 to $390,000. Rick, although impressed, felt unequipped to handle the sale, admitting that he lacked the knowledge and expertise in selling Pokemon cards. He declined to make an offer and thanked the customer for bringing in his collection. But little did he know that he had missed a big opportunity, because these Pokemon cards are now worth $10 million.
I don't have the knowledge or expertise to sell these things. Thanks for bringing it in.
Thank you.
I still don't know the difference between a Pokemon and a Charizard.
On Pawn Stars, some of the rarest items have been presented. Don't miss out on our video Pawn Stars Rarest Deals. Click here to watch.